this cycle, Bitcoin price could get to would easily surpass 100,000. So it will easily double from today's price, and it will very likely also triple and maybe even quadruple to 250K. I think I have made a prediction that Bitcoin can get to $333,000 in this bull market cycle. And the question is, does this bull market cycle end in the summertime or does it end in the fall or winter? We don't know. I can surely say today in the spring of 2021, this is nowhere near the peak of the bull market cycle. So when it peaks out, I think Bitcoin could easily go over 200 or even maybe even $300,000 today. That's 5x of today's price.
Here at Crypto News Alerts, I drop a brand new episode and exclusive interviews just like this every single day. So be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to receive daily premium Crypto News Alerts every single day just like this. And today's show is brought to you by our sponsor BlockFi, the leading provider of financial products and services for crypto investors. Here's where you can put your crypto to work. They're currently paying out a 5% annual percentage yield on Bitcoin, so it can literally have your Satoshis work for you. They're also paying out a whopping 10% APY on stable coins. And what I love about BlockFi, besides the fact they're so easy to use and that there are no hidden fees, they are backed by the biggest names in the industry, including Winklevoss, Fidelity, Morgan Creek, and Coinbase. And they have a special promo running right now where you can receive up to a $250 crypto bonus with a deposit of $25 or more. All you need to do is use my referral link in the description right down below. Once you click it, it'll take you here. Then click this yellow button that says sign up. You'll notice the referral code already pre-populated for you to take advantage of this special bonus. So what are you waiting for? Click the link right down below and let's start stacking those sats, shall we? Hey, what's good, everyone? JV here with another Crypto News Alert exclusive interview with the legendary Bitcoin pioneer, Bobby Lee. How you doing, bro?
Great. Hi, JV. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. I just finished actually reading your book, The Promise of Bitcoin, as you have right there. Very, very good, fascinating story of how you were introduced, to Bitcoin from your brother, Charlie Lee. I believe back in 2011, you started mining Bitcoin.
10 years ago.
A decade. Oh my God.
Yeah.
My favorite chapter, bro, was chapter 13, where you make 15 cryptocurrency predictions. Maybe we can touch upon in a little bit. Well, why don't you introduce how you got started into cryptocurrency, started mining Bitcoin and all that fun stuff?
Sure. So it was 10 years ago. This is my 10-year anniversary. So I didn't intend to, but the book took too long to write and ended up coming out this year. So in 2011, early spring, my brother and I, we had these long distance phone calls. I was based in China. He's in the Silicon Valley, and he brought up the topic of Bitcoin, and we decided to dive into it, trying to understand why it could be valuable. This is a digital asset. This is just computer software and bits and bytes and just private keys information. How could that be valuable? Of course, he and I were well versed in investing in assets like gold, trying to understand why gold is valuable. So we had a sort of early head start on that and started mining that summer 2011. And at the time, it was just a hobby. It was just setting up a PC motherboard with 4 different graphics cards plugged in and trying to mine it that summer. Create a lot of heat in the room and just mine probably just maybe a few $100s worth of Bitcoin at that time. And then fast forward 2 years later, I decided to jump in full time, career wise, to launch a Bitcoin company. So that was very early. In early 2013, practically no one would have dedicated their career professionally to this industry, and so I dived head in first.
Right on. And back then, what was Bitcoin actually trading at when you were mining it?
Yeah, when I'm mining it, I think I don't recall. It's you can look at the charts. I think it's between $6 and $20. The summer of 2011.
And take me back to your mindset when you were doing that. What were your thoughts about the future of Bitcoin? Did you think it would be worth $65,000 at this time? What were you thinking?
Not at the beginning. Not at the beginning. It was at the time. It was just for fun because I tell you the truth is everyone who gets into Bitcoin will complain that it's too expensive because look at where the price was. So when we got in mining, it was in the few dollars range, and Bitcoin had already passed that magical $1 mark. We're like, we should have got in a year earlier. It would have been below $1, just pennies, right? But of course, I remember that. So a year before I got in, it was that famous Bitcoin Pizza Day, which will happen on May 22nd. That was 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas, right? So by the time I got it, it was just Bitcoin was already several dollars. So looking at that, it was like, wait a minute, it's too expensive, right? So that's why I made that first mistake of not buying enough Bitcoins that year. I decided just to do some mining just for fun as a hobbyist, because I used to run a program called SETI at home, which would do the calculations to analyze satellite radio telemetry data for extraterrestrial signals, kind of like that. So it was similar, like a screensaver program.
You mentioned extraterrestrial signals, and now you got my full you got my full attention. Tell me more about these extraterrestrials.
So we're just your UFO topic. I'm a casual hobbyist in the UFO sort of topic. I read a lot of books on that. But anyway, so in the early, I forgot, it must be in the early 2000s. There's this program called SETI at home. It's a computer program you run. It runs as a screensaver. So when you're not using your computer, it would kick it off. And what it would do is it would download data from a centralized database and sort of analyze that data to see if there's a spike in the signal. Maybe it was, and these are signals. These are data from radio satellites. These are large satellite dishes, and all these different countries. They would just collect data, the natural sort of data, radio signals from space, and see if there's a special pattern and stuff like that. You analyze it using your computer. So it was a group computing project, kind of like that, kind of like grid computing with a lot of computers all around. And I bring that up because Bitcoin mining is similar, right? So Bitcoin mining in this case is decentralized. It's peer-to-peer. We get the data from other peers on the node, but still essentially you're getting data, in this case, block transactions, and you're doing the mining, you're doing the calculation to find the right hash. So that's why I was willing to, dedicate a computer to do this thing. It wasn't for the economic reward, because certainly, it was a few dollars of Bitcoin and we could mine just a few. So it was like I mined probably around 20 Bitcoins that summer of 2011. So it was just like $400 of income, if you will, and certainly spend more than that in electricity and effort and labor. Right. But now 20 Bitcoins is a lot.
Yeah, I'd say that. And you mentioned SETI. Is that Stephen Greer's company? I'm a ufologist as well.
Oh, yeah. Following. No, well, yes, I know Stephen Greer. Yeah, Stephen Greer. I follow him, the Disclosure Project. So SETI is not. SETI is SETI. It's a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's a different organization. Stephen Greer came out later, I think, or I forgot who came first, but it's a different thing.
Good stuff. And it's funny, I'll just throw this out here. I used to host, my first podcast ever was Esoteric Cosmos over a decade ago. And we talk about the mysteries of the universe, really. Oh, wow. And I remember investing into a pair of military grade night vision binoculars that were like $3,000-$4,000. Wow. And there are so many unidentified things I have witnessed just personally. So I think this is
just
using those binoculars. Yeah. They're like,
you look out in the night sky?
Yep. You just look at the night sky. So I was living in Florida.
Wow.
This is actually right before I moved to China. Interestingly enough, another story we can talk about a little later, but we would just sit down in the lounge chairs in the backyard at nighttime and just see all sorts of strange, unexplained things that we know are not satellites, because satellites kind of go extremely slow. Some of these things would go so fast and just stop and go the complete opposite way.
No way.
Yeah. So
no way.
It is absolutely mind-blowing. But I don't want to get too lost in a UFO rabbit hole. Tell me about
that is a rabbit hole. Yeah, we'll come back to crypto, which is a different rabbit hole.
Different rabbit hole, right? Tell me more about BTC China. I believe that was the first crypto exchange in China. Is that accurate?
It is. Yeah, BTC China. It was founded by my co-founders. They started that in 2011. At the same time, I started mining. At the time, we didn't connect yet, but it was early spring of 2013. I connected with them and asked to join them as a co-founder, and then became CEO. And then we launched that as a company structure. So that's when I went in full time. So we started as China's very first Bitcoin exchange. It was the first one to be venture funded in all of Asia, first sort of crypto company to be venture funded. And then at one point we became the world's largest in terms of trading volume. Because if you remember, in 2013, from 11 to 13, Mt. Gox was the premier exchange, so to speak, by volume. So we took over that mantle spot in probably November, December of 2013. I forgot when exactly. Yeah.
So at that time, you do that, and then I think you say in the book you grew it to about 1 million users, and then you sold that. Correct? Is that
yes?
Correct?
I sold it 5 years later in early 2018. So that company, the Chinese portion of the exchange got shut down in late 17 due to regulatory pressure in China. I was based in Shanghai at the time. And then the whole company BTCC got sold to a Hong Kong investor in 2018.
Wow, that's very fascinating to me. And I would imagine the Chinese regulatory pressure was pretty intense. Is that what really motivated you to make that sale? Would you have kept it if there wasn't that pressure?
Well, so it's a hard hypothetical question because I don't think we constantly lived under the regulatory sort of threat and regulatory, clarity, or rather unclarity and all that stuff. So we actually got several acquisition offers over the years, and then we finally took the one at the end of 17. By the time we took the acquisition offer, we knew we had to shut down the Chinese exchange. Yeah.
Oh, and at one point you were an intern for Microsoft, and you mentioned Bill
Yeah.
Gates invited you to his crib. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, those are in the 1990s. So I was at Stanford University studying computer science. I had already interned at IBM one summer, and at the time, people may not know this, but at the time, getting an internship at Microsoft was like the thing, right? Microsoft took in several hundred interns from all over the U.S., but they took the best and brightest from computer science programs all over the U.S. So even getting interviewed was a big deal, and they would fly us to Redmond, Washington, for the interviews. So it was quite something. Getting interviewed on campus and then all that stuff, and then they would get us accommodations in Redmond, Washington. This is right outside Seattle, and work at Microsoft's headquarters. So they have all these different buildings and campuses. I think I worked in building 32. I think either 32 or 36. Which one? I worked on Internet Explorer. So back then it was Internet Explorer. It was let me think. It was 4.0. Yeah, it was 4.0. 3.0 had just come out the prior summer, so I got the internship. It was awesome, and it was very exciting. Like getting an internship at Microsoft was as big a deal as like getting accepted into a good college. So of course, one of the perks was getting to meet Bill Gates. So he would host a barbecue every summer to bring all the interns. Like there were like several hundred people all jammed into his house in Seattle. Yeah.
Wow. And did you get any personal time or conversations with Bill, or not really?
Not really. I mean, he gave a speech. We talked a little bit, and certainly nothing interesting like Bitcoin to talk about with him.
Right on. And what are your thoughts of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett bashing Bitcoin and
Yeah,
saying it's a threat to humanity and society?
Yeah, I saw I watched I used to be a Berkshire Hathaway investor, but I still watched the shareholders meeting this year. And it was interesting. It's like Warren, he punted the question, and then Charlie was unashamedly, giving a criticism, even though he joked that he let other people criticize, right? So, I think it's an example. I don't want to sound offensive, but it's an example of like Bitcoin is very hard to understand by successful people. This is a statement. I didn't say this in the book, but think about it. People successful in our society today, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffett, and by the way, Elon Musk is an exception. Okay, we'll come to that a little bit. But the successful people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, they're very successful because they have their worldview and they have a clear perspective of their worldview. So the way they invest and the way they see things has been with them for the last, sometimes 20, 50, or even 80 years, right? So in that sense, it's very hard for an old dog to learn a new trick, because the trick that the old dog has learned has been very, very successful. It's this confirmation bias thing where because they've been successful, they think they're right. And in most cases, they are right. But in this case of Bitcoin, what they haven't done is they haven't spent the time that I have in terms of studying and understanding Bitcoin and seeing in real life how Bitcoin is used. Why do people send Bitcoin transactions over the network? Even though all the transactions are pseudonymous, I have a native feel for why people and how people and where people are sending Bitcoins across the internet on a daily basis, right? I myself, in 2018, after I sold the company, I gave a lot of speeches around the world. I took in speaking fees, and people would pay me speaking fees in Bitcoin, no matter what country they're from, right? So I had firsthand experience in accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment because traditional bank transfer were just too complicated. Whereas I think Charlie Munger, unfortunately, may not have had that experience firsthand. when he deals with banks, banks are very smooth for him in terms of transfers, withdrawals, loans. I'm sure Berkshire Hathaway has no problem whatsoever dealing with banking, but that's not the reality, right? They're sitting perched up, in Omaha, Nebraska, or Los Angeles, with the backing of Berkshire Hathaway. They have no banking problems. Does that make sense? Like the bankers are they snap their fingers. The bankers are right there helping them do X, Y, Z. So for the rest of us in the real world, banking is a huge issue. So that's why Bitcoin has a niche. Bitcoin is successful. And the price of Bitcoin, the market capitalization of Bitcoin has proved itself that Bitcoin, it's been around for over 12 years now, almost 12 and a half. And it's reached over $1 trillion in value. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. When it was $1 billion, you could say, oh yeah, that's a fluke. But now it's $1 trillion. And I think it's going to go to 10 trillion and 100 trillion. So I think Charlie and Munger, I think they will change their mind. I remember also, I used to invest in Apple way before Warren Buffett invested in Apple. Back then, 20 years ago, Warren Buffett was very famous for saying he doesn't invest in tech stocks because he doesn't understand them. Well, sure, if you don't understand it, don't invest in it. That makes a lot of sense. Guess what? A few years later, they invested. Why? Because Warren Buffett himself started using an iPhone. He realized how easy, how you use iPhone. Probably that's why he invested in Apple. He probably didn't use the iPods, right? He probably wasn't those teenager using iPods, but he used an iPhone, and probably that's one of the exact story. But that's when he realized to invest in Apple. And now Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway is the largest shareholders of Apple. So I will come around. And my first prediction in chapter 13 is that Warren Buffett will come around. So that someone like him, like Bill Gates, Charlie Munger, the old school people, the old guard, they'll come around. They'll understand, maybe through reading my book and others, they'll again fundamentally, oh, my coin really is awesome, really is valuable because of its 21 million, and also because of its decentralized nature, it cannot be shut down. So once they come around, Bitcoin price to the moon.
Right. And I agree 100%. I feel like fiat is their game and they're like the oligarchs of the game. And Bitcoin is like a threat on their monopoly.
Exactly.
And the central banking monopoly. And I think they're kind of playing that game, hence why they're bashing it so hardcore. To say it's a threat to the existence of society is a little, a little out there, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, what are your thoughts on Ethereum? As of today, the Ethereum market cap is almost $500 billion.
Yeah,
it's
I think it's
almost
high,
half of Bitcoins. Do you feel that Ethereum has the potential to ever surpass it by market cap, in your humble opinion?
I don't know. I don't want to make any. I mean, if people had to guess, they probably can guess which way I would say yes or no. But I don't want to jinx myself and and declare one way or the other. So I'll let it play out. But I'll still say my money is where my mouth is. I have more of my money tied to Bitcoin. I do have small amounts of Ethereum just for fun. But fundamentally, it's not in competition. It's kind of like saying, oh, real estate and stocks are in competition. They're not. Real estate and stocks are fundamentally different. Real estate is land ownership and property and housing, whereas stocks is the value of future earnings for companies, right? So fundamentally different. But you could say some houses are more than some stocks, or some cities' real estate is more than some market share of a stock exchange. But anyways, back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is different than Ethereum. Bitcoin is money in the sense that it's a store of value. Bitcoin, think of it as a vessel. Like, what is money? Money is basically proof of work. Okay, I know this sounds a little bit weird, but it's proof of my labor. So if I like for example, I worked as an intern at Microsoft. That summer I forgot how much I earned, a few $1,000s. Okay, so that money, which I didn't spend at all, by the way. By definition, I didn't spend it all because my assets have never reached zero, right? So that money, I still have parts of that money in my bank account today. Just I can't tell which parts came from the Microsoft internship, which parts came from the IBM internship. But the money is basically proof of my labor, of my work. And why do I have it today? Is because I didn't want to spend it all that summer. So I had a choice. I could spend all the money I earned every day or every summer and with zero savings, or I could have some money for the future for savings. The idea is I want to delay, postpone the gratification, whether it's a dinner, whether it's a vacation, whether it's a big party, or whether it's maybe college tuition for my children, right? So the idea is that money is what allows you to carry value through time. Think about that. money is the time travel machine. It's a one-way machine, by the way. It's not two ways. So it's a vessel that captures value that you can send it down to the future of time. That's what money is. So that's Bitcoin, right? But Ethereum is a different thing, different beast. Ethereum is a whole platform. It's a computing platform. It's a Turing complete computing platform, generic, and allows for smart contracts, allow for all these things. And now one of the biggest use cases is just settlement of tokens. It's the creation and settlement and transfer of tokens. Anyone can create their own tokens. Many of them are very, very successful, several hundreds of billions of value. And that's what Ethereum is. So betting on that is fine. And maybe that one day will be very valuable. But fundamentally, money, I think, is a larger thing. So we'll see. So Bitcoin today is at a little over $1 trillion right now. I think so. 10 trillion would take Bitcoin to like $500,000 or more, and then probably when Bitcoin hits 20 trillion, that's when Bitcoin gets to like is that right? So $1 million or so. So I would say this cycle, Bitcoin price could get to would easily surpass 100,000. So it'll easily double from today's price. And it will very likely also triple and maybe even quadruple to 250K. I think I have made a prediction that Bitcoin can get to $333,000 in this bull market cycle. And the question is, does this bull market cycle end in the summertime or does it end in the fall or winter? We don't know. I can surely say today in the spring of 2021, this is nowhere near the peak of the bull market cycle. So when it peaks out, I think Bitcoin could easily go over 200 or maybe even $300,000 today. That's 5x of today's price. However, I'm not saying it will be at that price on December 31st. So on December 31st, it could be lower, it could be higher, we don't know. And certainly the other danger is next year, 2022. Unfortunately, let me give the warning, will be a bear year. Okay, I think people. I mean, I've seen the cycle 3 or 4 times. After bull market, there's always a sharp pullback, and a sharp pullback could be 50, 60, 70% pullback. That's for the long term, 50, 60, 70%. However, there will be even flash crashes during the bear market where we can take it down to 85% from the all-time high, 85 or even 90% from the all-time high. So it'll be very severe. So people have to be prepared for that. So, however, even with the bear market, so what's going to happen is 3-4 years later, it's going to pull back up again. Now it's going to surpass and create a new all-time high. That's when it hits 500,000. That's when it hits $1 million. That's when it will hit what you said, 10 trillion. What I said earlier, $10 trillion. So it'll take another 4 or 5 years to cross that bridge. And I think that's when another prediction is I think countries will come into Bitcoin. You know, a lot of countries will come in. These days, it's companies. I think in the future will be countries, sovereign governments, sovereign funds coming in.
Nice. That's very insightful. And I agree. I feel 100,000 would be the absolute low this year because all we got to do is like 2x from the all-time high. We're already at $100, and $30,000. And you give us a warning of 2022. Be prepared for the bear season, crypto winter, as we call it. Do you feel that the corrections could be as steep as you mentioned, 75, maybe even as high as 90%, because that's what the past has shown us? But do you feel now that the market cap is more higher, like bigger of value, that it's less likely to correct that substantial, or could you expect that still, regardless of how big the market cap is?
I think the correction, unfortunately, will be big. I think it will be bigger than people expect, because when the market's correct, the notion of a correction, it has to surpass people's appetite for risk. Otherwise, it's not a correction. If it's, oh yeah, it's normal, it's not. It has to shake the fear out of people. It has to be like, oh my gosh, shake the core, the fears to the bone, where like you're literally like shaking and crumbling. So for like I've seen it 3 or 4 times. So I'm gonna hold steady, right? HODL. But for most people, by the way, my advice is to HODL through the bear market. My advice is, if you buy Bitcoin now, by the way, every successful Bitcoin investment, you will always reach a point in time where the market price is lower than your price of entry. Okay, what I call underwater. I think that's normal. So I think every successful Bitcoin investor has to go through a period of being underwater, so to speak. But I still suggest for people to buy now. And the reason is you invest now because you have motivation and intent to do it. You have the money and the motivation. When it goes through the bear market, just hodl through it. Just close your eyes, think about something else, find other hobbies, and sit through 3 or 4 years of bear market, and you're going to come out much, much better. And people always ask me follow up, how come? Why not just wait until the bear market? Don't buy now, wait for the big crash. And my answer to that is you don't know when the big crash is coming. When it comes crashing down, you don't know if that level is the bottom. It could crash down even further, right? And the worst is if it really crashes down really, really bad, like 85% down from all-time high, you're not going to buy it. You would be so scared, right? Most people will be so scared. Hodling is one thing, but buying in at 85% from the all-time high, most people won't do it, especially the new folks, right? It takes a lot of guts to buy in a new cryptocurrency asset class when it's down 85% from its all-time high. Who would do it?
So true. You're just preaching to the choir here. A lot of people tell me I'm just going to sell it when right before it crashes and I'll buy it back and double or triple my stash. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Yeah, if you could do that, then the rest of us all could do that. Then the market wouldn't be like what it is. The crash is basically to shake off all the loose people. It's the crash is on purpose. It's human fear and greed, right? It's greed and fear at its peak. That's why the market goes up irrationally, and that's why it crashes down so high, so much, right? Even when it peaks up, that's irrational behavior. It's like people piling in, the fear of missing out rally, right? FOMO.
Yeah, it makes sense totally to me. So I appreciate that. And you mentioned in the book, you're obviously a Bitcoin guy. I am too. Most of my portfolio is obviously the king. I have some Ether and some other cryptos that I believe in the use cases of them. Would you be open to sharing some of the other cryptos that you've invested in over the years besides Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yes, I very few. So I have Bitcoin, right? So Ethereum, and then I have some Litecoin. So I got some Litecoin from my brother back in 2013, I think. Now, unfortunately, Litecoin has actually underperformed Bitcoin. So in any case, well, it is what it is. I still hold on to it. And then I have some, what else do I have? I think that's about it. Yeah, I don't have much of anything else. Yeah. I invest in a startup called Orchid Labs. So it's OXT. I have some of those tokens from that investment. But that's about it.
Right on. And did your brother Charlie Lee, did he sell his entire Litecoin stash or did he save some?
He sold his Litecoin stash. The explanation was he did in hindsight, he did sell at the peak back in 2017. His reasoning is that he's a creative Litecoin, so he really wants to help Litecoin succeed, but he doesn't want to be accused of trying to manipulate Litecoin for its price.
Right.
So his intention of selling is to be financially neutral with Litecoin, but still go on and push Litecoin and help it succeed. So I mean, he's walking the talk, because since then he's been dedicated solely on Litecoin Foundation, trying to improve it and make it work. And he's doing it out of his good senses and not because of to benefit financially. I mean, he's already very well off from his early Bitcoin investments in Coinbase and so on. So he doesn't need that money for Litecoin price to go up. But at the same time, I can see there's a lot of people accusing him of selling out and so on.
Yeah, there's all sorts of theories out there. It's kind of hilarious, but it's all good. And writing your book, I know it's over 300 pages. It's very in-depth. What have you learned? What was the biggest takeaway from sitting down and getting those thoughts out, sharing those stories and everything you have to share about Bitcoin?
Yeah, a lot. I did a lot of research on the early money and all the. So through my journey, actually I learned about politics and government as well. So basically, through my Bitcoin journey, I never expected to learn more about economics and government and society. I thought it was just computer science, right? I come from a computer science background, so Bitcoin is much more than computer science. Because if you look at why I'm really proud to be an American is because the country was created from despair, meaning that people purposely came over to this continent to set up a new form of government, a new form of way where it's a representative government, where it's a federation of states, where we value individual liberty, all that stuff. And this is where the libertarian me comes out. So I've become much more of a libertarian, over the last 10 years. In fact, 10 years ago, I didn't even understand the concept of a libertarian, right? So Bitcoin has taught me a lot about that, about human freedom, about having control of our own destiny, And really, governments should serve the people. Governments should be elected and created to serve the people. I love the fact that the US has three branches, co-equal branches of the government: the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch, right? So it's a fresh breath of air because I've grown up. I was born in the Ivory Coast in West Africa, and I still currently live in China with my family. So it's the U.S. system is really good, and it's something people shouldn't take for granted. That's why there's so many immigrants coming to the U.S. That's why so many people around the world want to get U.S. passports. So I've learned a lot about that doing a lot of the research, and of course, it's a work in progress. Even though I've known and have gone to Bitcoin for 10 years now, which is a lot to many people. But I can tell you the truth is I'm learning more about Bitcoin every year as we go along, even this year, and I will continue to learn about Bitcoin in the next few years. So.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you sharing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out, speak with my audience. So everyone watching this, please smash the like button right down below, subscribe, show Mr. Bobby Lee some love. I'll also include in the show notes below the video in the description, a link to you can all purchase the book, help support the Bitcoin movement. It's a great read. I highly recommend it. And I appreciate the advanced copy. So thank you very much. Any last words of wisdom you'd like to share with my audience?
So tell all your friends about Bitcoin crypto. I don't care if it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other, just get more people involved. This revolution, we're at the very beginning, early stage of the revolution. And hope you and your friends can enjoy. Maybe buy a copy of this book, The Promise of Bitcoin. It's available on Amazon, both in hard copy and in Kindle version. And there's going to be audiobook version coming out later this summer. And hopefully there'll be several translations as well for international market. And leave a review. Give us a review on Amazon. Also, you can come to bobbylee.com to order special deals for the book and also with Ballet wallets. As people may know, I'm the CEO founder of Ballet. It's a new crypto company for hardware wallets for everyday people. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for being such a delightful figure in the Bitcoin space that we can all learn from, being a pioneer and just, doing what it is that you do. Keep doing it. We'll continue to support you. And once again, I appreciate everyone watching this. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Great. Thank you, JB. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.